Yeah, so there are many ways to monetize your website. We're actually going to go through a bunch. The very first way is something called display ads. So display ads is whenever you view a website and you know how there's like ads. Hold on, let me remove this real quick so you can see the whole thing. You know how there's ads whenever you go to a website, they're just like there, up there. Sometimes they pop up at the bottom of the screen. Sometimes when you click a link, the whole thing turns into an ad and you got to exit out of it. Yeah, those are called display ads. And they make money from whoever is hosting that website. So I just wanted to share, there are a couple of different places if you have a website that you can apply to for them to put what ads on your website, and then eventually they can pay you. The first one is Google Adsense, which this is kind of a starter one. I don't really recommend this. There's a lot of better ad networks out there that give you more customer like support, and they actually make ads that are specific to your niche. But AdSense does an okay job, and I actually thought this was really interesting. I found this tweet that I liked. This person is getting, for every 1,000 page views, they're making $268, which the average is like 15 to 30. So 268, they're doing something right. Whatever niche they're in or whatever they're doing with AdSense, that's amazing. I will say a lot of people, if they have AdSense and they switch to Ezoic, they make more money. So it would be interesting to see. I wonder why this person hasn't switched to anything else. It's obviously working for them. But anyways, AdSense, AdWords is one of the first places that you can sign up to and get basically approved and then start serving ads. But what a lot of people do is they skip AdSense and they go right to Ezoic. So I've actually got a website here that is monetized with Ezoic. If you watch my income reports, this is actually site number 2. And you can see they show you all kinds of information like how many page views you get per day, along with how much money you've earned in that day. And Ezoic does not have the best customer support. In fact, they're known for not having good customer support. You've basically got to set up the ads yourself. I will say what Ezoic does really well is basically accept anyone. So actually, Nico's struggling with this a little bit right now.
Well, Ezoic accepted me. Google's bending me over at the moment.
That's true. That's true.
Wow.
Google just hasn't approved. You just keep reapplying, you'll get it. But a lot of people use Ezoic because they can have 5 visitors a month. Like I mentioned, my other website that has like 10 page views a month. I'll actually switch to it. I'll have to blur a whole bunch of stuff out, but let me switch to it really quick. It's 45 page visits and 14 cents, which, oh, look at that. Yesterday, I actually made 3 pennies, which is exciting.
I would love to make 3 pennies in a day at this point.
It's so thrilling to me to see those first couple pennies come in, because I know in like a year, 5 years, I'm gonna look back and be like, man, I remember those days. So you can actually see here the cash rate is actually really low too. I'm assuming this is just because there's only 45 people. But if we go back to my other website that's actually making a decent, like $100, $120 a month, the cash rate is actually up there. And this has to do with like they actually help speed your site up because when you load ads, it's a bunch of information that for the server to send to whoever is visiting, and so it usually slows your stuff down. Well, Ezoic came up with this really interesting technology that basically caches it for you. And you can see here I am passing on mobile and desktop, and that's super cool. I had to really tweak the settings on Ezoic to get this to happen, but it is possible. Like I'm passing Core Web Vitals, and I'm monetized with Ezoic. So that's what I like about Ezoic is that they help you pass Core Web Vitals. If you don't tweak these things, Ezoic, I think by default is really bad. Like most people do not pass. I had to change a bunch of stuff. But yeah, do you have any questions about Ezoic? I think you're really close to getting monetized with Ezoic, by the way.
I hope. I'm only 5 months in, but I would really love to see some type of income on the 30 to 50 visits I'm getting a day now.
That's that's really impressive at like the 5 to 6 month mark, by the way.
Yeah, it's looking beautiful. I'm ready for this traffic report next month. You're actually doing $100 a month and you get about 300 a day. Is that what that's looking like?
Yeah, about that, around 300. Yesterday I almost hit 400. So yeah, and my EPM,
how many posts?
There's like 350 right now. But you can actually, so you can see the daily here. And I've actually got something called Ezoic Premium, which we can talk about that for a minute. It's really interesting. You pay Ezoic money, and then because you've paid them money, they're like, hey, they paid us money, we should give them better ads. And so they give you better ads to earn more money back. And the clause is you'll always make more money than what you pay them. It's just kind of, it's interesting. I don't know why they don't just take the money out of the ads anyways and give it to everybody. But Anyways, you can see here Ezoic used to have like pretty high EPMVs. I'm not actually sure why these were so high back then. Now they've kind of dropped down to 10 and 15. And like I said, if you want to squeeze more money out of someone that visits your page, the ranking usually goes like AdSense, Ezoic, Monumetric, and then Mediavine. And Mediavine's up there with AdThrive, but I don't have AdThrive, so I can't confirm that. And speaking of that, we can actually go into Monumetric. So this is Monumetric. I have a website with this. It's not doing very well. And this website actually is making a lot less than if it was on Ezoic. But I think that's just because I don't have it optimized. And the people that visit are super targeted and don't like ads without giving the niche away. So you can see here $60 in the last month with 19,000 page views. That's a really low RPM. Actually, I think this says $5. Super low. It's actually, I've actually disabled ads on some pages on this for specific reasons that I don't want to get into in this video, but there's actually probably only 15,000 page views that are actually monetized. So this session RPM is actually wrong. But you can actually see what Monumetric, I just wanted to like pull this up here and show that I did have a website with Monumetric. I had another website, but I switched it over to Mediavine, and we'll get to that in a second. But Monumetric, they have a little bit better support. Actually, I will say they have a lot better support than Ezoic. It's not hard to beat Ezoic. They don't give you any support, really. Even their forums are hard to like ask questions and stuff on. But so this is Monumetric. They usually have a lot better support because they really want people to start joining their program. I don't think there's as many people on Monumetric. And by the way, with Ezoic, you don't have to have any page views. You just have to apply pretty much. Monumetric, I think you have to have like 10,000 page views or 25,000 page views a month to be able to apply. So it's pretty low standards, but I mean, if you're there, the switch to Ezoic to Monumetric sometimes is worth it. And then, like I said, I actually have another website that is on Mediavine, and it's doing much better than Ezoic and Monumetric. You can see the RPM is like, the session RPM is basically $27, $28. And in the last couple of weeks, it was even higher. But I do have a lot more traffic here. Like this last month, almost 500,000 page views. So Mediavine, their support is great. Mediavine has great support. I can't say anything better about them. The ads, it's really easy to customize your ads as well. I will say Ezoic and Mediavine, you can be like, hey, I want a ton of ads. I don't want very many ads. I only want image ads. I don't want text ads. To where you can't really do that with Monumetric. And so I guess talking to you, Nico, if I were you, I would go to Ezoic as long as you can, and then skip up to Mediavine. And you can only apply to Mediavine once you have 50,000 sessions a month. So that's actually really important too, the difference between page views and sessions. So you can see, if I scroll down here, you can see my past payments, how much I've made in the last 30 days. So in the last 30 days, I have 328,000 sessions. But if I switch to page views, I have a lot more page views. So the number that they accept is sessions. So the sessions is actually lower than page views. So you got to keep that in mind. But Mediavine, once you get to Mediavine, there's not really any more increasing it. Actually, for this particular niche, I've been on Mediavine so long, and these RPMs have not necessarily made me super happy. I'm curious to see if I switch to Ezoic, that my RPMs might be higher on this website. But the thing is about most of these, Monumetric, for example, and Mediavine both have contracts. So like with Monumetric, if you switch, you have to give them 30 days of notice. The same with Mediavine. If you switch without the 30 days, there's clauses in there where they say they don't have to pay you, the last 30 days. I think Monumetric is like the last 60 days. They just take like 50% of your revenue or 20% of your revenue. It's really interesting how those clauses work. But basically, you have 30 days. You got to give them a 30-day notice. So I guess that kind of goes over display ads. There's also AdThrive, but I don't have a website on AdThrive, so I can't really talk about it. I know a lot of people that have switched from Mediavine to AdThrive, they don't necessarily see a benefit. If you're, and I think AdThrive also takes 100,000 monthly sessions, so they're seen as the top tier, even though like they're kind of on par with Mediavine. And again, some people have had Mediavine and they switch to Ezoic, and then they make more money. So it really depends on your niche and what kind of ads you want to display on your website. I'm really happy with how Mediavine's treating me on this big website, though.
One day I can talk about that. I got no
You'll get
expertise. It all looks good though.
there. You'll get there. I'm glad I have
I
all
will
these
say Ezoic,
experiences to share.
setting up Ezoic was a pain in the rear.
Oh my
You know,
goodness,
trying to
yes.
figure all that out.
That's another thing we can talk about. Ezoic, pain in the butt to set up. It's like you've got to redirect your name servers. You got to do all this stuff. Monumetric was a little easier. You install a plugin and then they like write custom code for your website. And then Mediavine, like the top tier one that I'm talking about, the page that I'm on right now, it's like you pretty much install a plugin, click activate, and then they do everything else behind the scenes. So I think they wrote some code, maybe not. I think they wrote some custom code for like an ad, and it was super easy. Like they were like, "Give us 3 days, we'll have your website up and running." And I was like, "Cool." Whereas
like,
Ezoic,
you're like, oh, it's gonna be a week till I figure this out.
you are right about Ezoic though. Ezoic's like if you blew up a balloon and then you tried to like shave the balloon, like you're like, I don't want to like pop this balloon, and like your site will just go down for like 3 hours because you messed up a domain thing, DNS thing that you have to like wait 3 hours for it to propagate or whatever. So Ezoic, it's they accept anyone, but you've kind of got to know what you're doing when you start getting set up with them.